Let's look at this pattern in a more formal way. What does the proxy pattern look like in a class diagram? Let's start with the client. The client is accessing some object of some type. I'll just call the type component. The client shouldn't necessarily know if they're operating on the real object or the proxy to the real object. The client should really work on an interface. The real business object then have to implement this interface to ensure that they fulfill the contract, and the business object holds the actual business algorithm that we eventually have to have invoked on behalf of the client. A typical way of ensuring this is to define a component as an interface and have the business object implement this interface. In RMI, there is a slight discrepancy here. So think of the diagram that I'm drawing as more of a conceptual diagram. We also need to implement a proxy. Now, the proxy would have to have the same methods as the component interface, and typically all it does is to forward to the real implementation or to another component that may be a proxy or a real implementation. Think of the proxy as a subtype of a component or as a class that implements the component interface. Also, the proxy will have to have a reference to the object that it needs to forward to. So this makes up sort of a conceptual diagram of what a proxy does. A proxy is something that implements the abstraction that the client is expecting. Its goal is to forward the request to the real implementation, but perhaps it's doing some pre-processing and post-processing before or after it sends the message onto the real object.